What's up guys, and welcome back to another Lost Ark video. Today we're talking about the second abyssal dungeon in Array as well, the tier 3 dungeon. That section is going to be Oreha Preveza. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first boss fight. So in my personal opinion, this is the first real content of the game. These bosses were very well done and they were a lot of fun to do. There are a few mechanics here which you're going to pick up pretty quickly from watching, as I keep getting hit over and over again by these mechanics here. So this boss only really has two main mechanics here. The first major thing to know is the boss is going to start with a buff like the first boss of the last dungeon. To get rid of this, you just want to stagger him as quickly as possible. Outside of that, every single ability you get hit by, you are going to get a stack. Upon reaching 3 stacks, you are going to then get stunned, so try to keep that in mind if you are a melee. Range, you can have a much easier time dodging this. The next mechanic here is going to be only for the current phase you see. Once he goes to his second phase where he drops flames on the ground, this is no longer going to apply. He's going to spawn totems. You want 2 players to go out and kill the totems. They're either going to increase the damage he does or decrease the amount of damage you do to the boss. You do want to kill these totems fairly quickly, or just phase the boss as quickly as possible here. So once 2 players head out to kill each totem, one of the players is going to be frozen. Simply just break that frozen player out and continue to the boss fight. The next part of the fight is going to be the fire phase. This phase is extremely hectic and there's a lot of damage coming out here. The main thing you want to worry about for the first part of this fire phase is always stay inside of the water bubble, and while inside of this water bubble you have to dodge as many mechanics as you can because they do hurt. He will become counterable and flash blue at a few points during the fire phase, so keep this in mind here, and make sure if you do have counter abilities ready, you're using them properly standing in front of the boss. Outside of that, the deadly attack to look for is going to be a whirlwind he does. Ideally, you want everyone to jump outside of the circle, preferably in a safe spot. If you cannot find a safe spot, it is okay to dash into fire for just 1 stack as long as you are returning back into the circle here. Once you actually play the fight and see it at least 1 or 2 times, or you can just be a pro player and get it right the first time, it all comes down to muscle memory and memorizing what exactly to do here. Now the interesting part is going to be the second and third fire phase that he is going to do when his health is a bit lower here. This is where he's going to start casting patterns that are going to be ever moving inside the circle that is in a very small and confined space. If you do want to utilize your spacing and make sure you're dodging all of them, stay close to the boss. The further away from the boss you are standing, the further you're going to have to move, as these patterns are ever revolving. So as far as the number of mechanics this boss has, they are very few, but they are quite deadly indeed. And it's going to be a massive adrenaline rush for the first time you guys enter this for sure. Like I said, in my opinion, this Abyss dungeon is the first real content the game has to offer, and of course it's just going to get better and better from here. So thoroughly enjoy this. Now let's move on to the second boss in this dungeon. Alright guys, now that you've made it to the second boss of the second tier 3 Abyss dungeon, let's get right into it. This is hands down the coolest fight up to this point in progression so far here. We are fighting Albion consumed by madness here, like we saw while we were doing the Hunica questline coming up in the dungeons. So for the starting phase in this, it's going to be quite simple. Dodge all of the mechanics that you see. There are safe spots in the middle. Sometimes you have to run away. There are going to be random trajectory line patterns that you do have to dodge. In my personal opinion, it is best to not try to stand in between them, because you might think you're safe and end up not being safe, and there's no point in taking additional damage if you can avoid it. So I would recommend just dashing out if you can't afford that. He is going to flap his wings, doing damage to the side of him, and a quick pushback on his tail. But outside of that, the first phase is rather easy. He's going to have a stagger check that you really do want to hit. If you can't hit it, it's just going to empower his abilities, making him cast them quicker. Another mechanic he's going to do is he's going to start channeling, going into an enrage phase. You are going to need, of course, whirlwind bombs, anything to meet the stagger check. If you do not hit this, the boss is going to go into his enraged state here. Now I think quite a few groups aren't going to be able to hit this stagger check personally, so this could be just a good phase to burn him for as much damage as you possibly can. making him move on to his other phases here. The mechanics that we personally got, the first thing is the memory check. As you can see, he's going to jump into the air, cause a whirlwind where you have to stand in the middle, and he's going to flash safe spots on the ground. It's only 3. You will have to memorize the save spots for all 3. Best is to say it out louder in your head, right, left, right, and then as he does the mechanics, you stand in the proper save spots throughout the time. After that, he's going to return to the early on phase. So the next pattern is very unique and you have to pay attention to this. Albion is going to land in the middle of the map. He's not going to be able to take any damage, and he's going to spawn circles with little stars all around him. On the top of his back, there's going to be a lit up star, and you have to count how many points of the star is. What I did is I looked at it quickly, said 6, then looked for the matching star. On the map, you have to stand on it. You have a decent amount of time, but don't take too long, because if you are too slow, you're going to get one shot. So after matching the correct star to the star on his back on the platform, you have to repeat this 2 to 3 times until this phase is over. And this one may be a bit harder if you're doing this in a random group. If multiple players run to the same spot, like we did just see there, one of them is likely going to die because they can be spread out quite far away. So once you've been protected 3 times, you're then going to head back into the boss. The next special interaction that we didn't get to see in this first clear gameplay footage is going to be the thunder phase. Now the thunder phase, there's a few important things you want to know about. This is why I would recommend bringing a potion that cleanses all debuffs from you, because it can be quite hectic. What's going to happen is players want to spread out around the map when he goes into his lightning phase. He's going to spawn individual patterns around the players. Once he does that, orbs are going to spawn. If they do hit you, they're going to stun you for a while. This is where you're going to want to instantly cleanse it. The reason why is because after that, a save spot's going to appear in the center. You have to get there within seconds. If one of your players dies prior to this phase and you do get this phase, you have to restart instantly, because it will require 4 players to be in there to prevent the one-shot mechanic from occurring. He is going to repeat this a total of 3 times during that phase. After that, he's going to slam down into the center of the map, and he's going to be immobile for a while, so you can do gigantic damage to this boss here, which should give you a great push in killing it. So all in all, outside of the star pattern and thunderstorm, the rest of this fight is pretty self-explanatory. Some people might struggle with the memory pattern I did mention before, but after seeing it for the first time, you are going to get it very easily. Hopefully after watching and digesting this video, you have a better understanding of this boss instead of going it blind like I did. I personally enjoy the blind gameplay. Outside of reading up a little bit on the boss, I don't like to watch videos. I like to experience it firsthand, and luckily I was able to find a group that wasn't upset with wiping 2 or 3 times prior to killing both of these bosses. So that's going to conclude this video. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said before, I thought this boss was fantastic as far as the mechanics go, and I look forward to doing it again after this weekly reset. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on notification bells, and I will see you all in the next guide video.